Hey everyone, Ray Alfalla here with the 8-car fix setup at Kansas Day. So earlier in the season we were the night version and it was a lot grippier. Now it's almost like we're on banana peel. So we're going to go here to the data pack. Let's go all the way down. And right off the bat, you'll see the two differences right there. There's a second difference. The 28.8 is the session from earlier in the year. And now the lap will be at 29.8. So you go here. We're going to go to learn track. And now just make sure we're, choosing lap 1 right here. So yeah, you get your run off the corner, and this is basically a highline track, meaning it's highline dominant, very much like Darlington is, for example, in 3 and 4. That's of course before the dynamic track kicks in, and then it could change. So this track, with this setup, the setup is pretty snug. So what happens here at Kansas is the bottom lane just seems to be tighter than the top lane. So even a looser setup will kind of get tight on the bottom. So this being a tight setup, it'll definitely kind of only work on the top side. The bottom side will be useful on restarts and whatnot. And as I said earlier, the dynamic track may make the top side slower, so it'll might equalize things a little bit. But as far as just being the lone car on the track, or the beginning of any run, the high line will be the more dominant line. So here in the hot lap, one thing to look out for is this little straightaway before turn 1. The wall here kind of juts out a little bit. It's and then it goes back out. So if you focus on your entry being turn 1 right here, if you lose track of where this wall is, it could bite you. You may actually make contact with it. So you just have to be aware of that. Kind of have like don't go right up next to the wall immediately. Stay out to the left a little bit, and then at the very end, you can kind of go right next to it, and then make your arc into the corner. You can use these these hash marks right here, kind of as your markers. You want to keep your left sides on this, or maybe on this side of the track right here. This being the middle groove has less grip, and then the bottom here even less grip. It's the progressive banking, but just here it just seems like it's just really tight for whatever reason. So we're going on the backstretch now, approaching 200 miles an hour. And again, the braking point right here, you can use this first hash mark right here. You see a little bit of brake, and as you can see, the car is quite on the tight side. I'm letting it coast quite a bit, and then pretty aggressively on the throttle. So that's a hot lap around Kansas. It can be a fun track, but it can also be very frustrating because it's a single line kind of parading around the top and then waiting for people to make a mistake. But it can get interesting, because of that factor as well. So that was our hot lap at a 29.8. Now we're going to go to lap 10, where we've already dropped to a 30.7. So that's almost a second fall off in 10 laps. And here, I'm just showing kind of like the normal line. I'll start running different lines later in the run just so you see how it looks like. But this is kind of like what a standard lap looks like around here. It's not necessarily maybe right around the top, right around next to the wall, but definitely on this third lane above these hash marks right here. There's just more grip up there, and as you can see right there, that's something that you don't want to do, but it's kind of inevitable at this track sometimes. Just barely kissed the wall. I didn't really hurt the car. It was just very light graze. If you can pay close attention here, and you can actually hear it right there. It didn't do much to the car, but it's something to watch out for, especially if you have somebody right behind you and you hit the wall. It can kind of get stuck. Your car can get stuck to the wall. You'll lose speed, and they'll run right into you, and have damage for the rest of the race. Now here we are for lap 20, and as you can see, I'm gonna rewind right here. I'm starting the lap on the apron. Is this some place where a lot of drivers will run during the race? It's a little bit shorter distance. You might pick up a couple hundredths or so, and that'll add up over a run. The transition going down into the track is okay, but the transition going up into the track is actually very, very smooth, which is what allows this line to work very well. other tracks, when you get back up onto the track, it can upset the car quite a bit, and it can make it a challenge to do so and getting an arc in turn one. But as you can see right here, when I go over that transition, it's very, very smooth, and that's just the way this track is. So just make sure you get out there onto the wall. And as you can see right here, I'm running the bottom line, and I just have to be more patient with the car. It just doesn't want to turn down there. It's just the way this track is, and hopefully the dynamic track makes it better, and you'll have to see how that evolves during a race. But when you're running the bottom at Kansas, it's just about being patient because the front end just doesn't want to turn. As you see, we go back down to the bottom here, and that's the line that a lot of the drivers will be running during the race. Now here's lap 30, going down to turn one again, almost 200 miles an hour still, using about 15 to 20% brake, kind of carry that car up to the top. And again, you don't get on the grass, not on the grass, I'm sorry, on the throttle. You don't get on the throttle very aggressively, even when the car's tight. And that's just because, if you get on the gas very hard and the car's tighter, it'll just kind of push up the track even more. If you think of the weight shifting to the back, it'll make those front tires lighter and make them grip less. So if you're loose or tight, you just want to kind of roll into the throttle. Or what I like to do is just, I kind of get on it 50-60% immediately and then kind of hold it there for a little bit. One thing to watch out for also here in turn two, which can bite you. And as you can see right there, I have some damage to the right front, and I'll go back to that in a second. But it's right here. This groove right here is the middle groove, the high groove, and the low groove. If you put your left side tires right here in that middle groove, and you kind of straddle this seam, it'll make that car push right there. And I'm actually going to go back to lap 16, which is where I got this damage. I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So I'm headed down into turn one, just running the normal high line here. And it's tempting, the way the corner is here, it's tempting to just kind of, you want to go down there. It feels like, hey, if I turn down the track, it'll just be faster. Well, problem is, every seam right here is a different banking. It's 1 degree less banking. So I put my left sides way down there, and as you can see right here, this is where that seam is. And I almost have basically all 4 tires down in the middle groove, and it just stops turning. It just stops completely turning. I recognize it way too late. As soon as I get off the throttle, right into the wall, damaged my car, and that's just something you don't want to do during the race. So now our final lap. As you can see, I've been managing that damage to the right front. It didn't seem to hurt the car too bad. Maybe made it even tighter, which the setup obviously doesn't need. But overall, the important thing here, any track that you run the high line, if you can basically keep it off the wall, you're probably going to have a good day, because a lot of drivers are going to hit it. And the number one thing here, especially at a track where you're doing 200 miles an hour into the corners, is stay off the wall. So now I'm going to compare a couple laps here. You go to the driving stats, and you go to down here, your opportunities. Let that load. You go to see video. Now we only want one screen right there, so you click up here, and now you're going to go select your laps. Now this is automatically picking the session, the night track session. And now we're going to go here and select our day session. Alright, so which lap? Well, lap 20, I'm going to go select lap 20 and lap 30. Alright, so lap 20 and lap 30. So now, this will illustrate, the difference in the lines that you can run here, and kind of how the laps are similar. So we're going to go down into turn one. As you can see right here, heading into turn one, it's basically right on. The laps are right on. When we go into turn one right here, boom, the video is showing lap 20, which I ran on the bottom, compared to lap 30, which I ran up top. Now remember, lap 30 has 10 lap older tires, yet the lap time is still fairly similar. So it's a 35-foot difference. And as you can see, we come off the corner, it's a tenth and a half to the good, but now we start losing time because that Highline has a ton more momentum. Even though we have 10 lap older tires, which is quite a lot, we're still almost even entering turn 3. Now again, we go down into turn 3. Again, 35-foot difference in the track. I think it's maybe 40 or 45 feet wide. Is I wasn't right next to the wall, but it's still right there. 36 feet difference, tenth and a half, maybe a little more, and then you start losing that time coming back to the line. So this track, it may change quite a bit with the dynamic track. The default setup here, the fixed setup is very, it's on the tight side. So I'd go up on those track bars or go up on that right rear spring, go down on the wedge, move that ballast back, even go down on the left side pressures. Just anything to help it turn. It is very tight, and as you can see, this track, it's highline dominant, and the only way to make the bottom work is if you get your car to turn. So it's tighter down there, and if the setup is tight from the beginning, it's going to be even worse down there. One of the features we offer at Virtual Racing School is live coaching. There's a one-on-one coach, and there's also a group coach. So if you go to group classes right here, you can see who is offering the coaching, how many seats are taken. So you can choose to join the class. It'll be 4 weeks, 4 sessions, 1 hour each. And a coach will sit with a group of drivers and critique, whatever they're doing, whether it be, through the analyzer or on the racetrack. And if you'd also like a one-on-one session, you just click on coaches right here, and you just choose whoever you want to as coach. So if you want me as coach, you click on my name, you go to request session and pick whatever you'd like. So, that's one of the features we offer here at VRS, and we hope to see you at a live coaching session soon.